I found clips of some very famous celebrities speaking French, and in this video I'm going to be reacting to every single one of them. And make sure you stay till the end when you're going to see my personal favourite, which really put a smile right across my face. Let's see who's first.
Est-ce la propriété de Perrier-Lapadite?
Je suis Perrier-Lapadite.
C'est un plaisir de vous rencontrer, monsieur Lapadite. Je suis le colonel SS Hans Landa.
Que puis-je faire pour vous?
J'espérais que vous m'inviteriez à entrer chez vous afin que nous puissions avoir une discussion.
Certainement. Après vous.
Cool, so we got a pretty standard piece of film French here, with a slightly inflected German accent, I guess, speaking very properly. Christoph, he actually has a German father and an Austrian mother, so it's no surprise that he's fluent in German. But I think we should take a look at his French in real life to see how good he really is.
Se souvenir et rendre compte toujours que c'était Quentin qui a écrit ce rôle. Et c'était Quentin qui a écrit et créé ce que je fais. Alors, moi, je fais mon job, oui, bien sûr, et je suis très, très, très honored and elated that it was received like it was.
Yeah, so obviously it's one thing to learn some lines for a film, and it's quite another thing to be put on the spot and to be interviewed by a reporter there. And I think he clearly doesn't speak French all that often. He's struggling quite a bit, but I love the fact that he's out there actually doing interviews in French, speaking French in the real world, and he's got a great accent as well, which is really nice. So, who's next?
Parce que peur, c'est peut-être excessif pour vous.
Moi, pour toute mon carrière, je n'ai pas peur. Jamais, parce que pour moi, dans ma tête, je pense, si je perds, avant, je travaillais beaucoup et je assez encore. Mais si je pense, je perds, je peux, c'est pas bon pour le champion.
Ah, c'est pas un bon sentiment. Donc le travail.
Exactement.
Que le travail.
Mais exactement. Et j'adore jouer tous les trois, all of them.
La plus sympa, c'est la...
Now this is just awesome. I mean, so her French is, it's okay, it's like clearly not all that fluent, but she can sit there, she'll go into the lines then there with a group of 7 TV presenters in French and hold her own and do an interview in French. This is what I love about Serena Williams. She's so, like, her passion, her drive is just, it's brilliant. And I love everything that comes along with that. So interestingly, Serena actually said that the reason she started learning French was because she wanted to win the French Open, and she wanted to give her victory speech in French when she actually won. So this tells you everything you need to know about her. And this is something for you to think about as well in your own learning. Do you have a really strong aim? Can you visualize yourself winning that competition and giving that speech in French? Sometimes it's this drive and this passion, this determination to win or to achieve something that can really drive us forward and help us do amazing things. And if you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Ollie Richards, and this channel is all about helping you learn a new language quickly through the power of stories so that you can become fluent faster and live your best life. But now, I think it's time for our next.
Mais quand j'étais un enfant, aller au collège, université, ça va être un rêve pour moi. Surtout à Georgetown, l'université que j'étais là. Et j'étais étudiante. Et oui, j'adore lire le livre, j'adore la littérature. Ça, c'était mon métier quand j'étais là. Ça, c'est pourquoi.
Now, the thing that strikes me about this is how cool and calm and confident he is. He speaks really good French. He's got a nice kind of rhythm to it. He's got a good accent. He maybe doesn't have all the vocabulary he needs to hand, but he clearly speaks French a lot. And it turns out that Bradley Cooper actually did an English degree, but also studied French at the same time at university. And I think it's that kind of frequent contact over many years with the language that ends up giving you this nice kind of like just cool command of the language. Are you inspired yet? If you are, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for lots more. Now let's move on to our next.
Mais comment on gère quand on est un peu responsable du film parce qu'on est le héros.
Ouais, peut-être, ouais. Mais ouais, avec eux, ils sont vraiment sympas et donc moi, je ne sens pas vraiment tout responsable. Et, ouais, ils m'aident. Ouais, c'est vraiment une famille. Je pense qu'on tourne pour 2 mois, 3 mois, ouais, on devient une famille.
That is absolutely awesome. I don't know about you, but I find it so inspiring to see people at a young age learning other languages. And then they go in on TV. I think it's really difficult to underestimate the stress and the difficulty of actually doing, like speaking another language live on TV. And you see someone at such a young age doing this, I think it's absolutely fantastic. And he's so fluent as well. He's got a great accent. He's so calm and collected. Like a young version of the Bradley Cooper we saw just before. But I wonder how his French evolved as he got older.
Ouais, c'est un personnage et une série pleine de l'optimisme et de l'espoir. Et je crois que dans un moment, ben bien sûr aux États-Unis, en Angleterre, mais j'imagine en France aussi, on allume la télévision, il y a beaucoup d'actualités qui sont négatives. Oui. Et je crois que c'est mieux de regarder quelqu'un qui nous offre un petit peu plus de l'espoir, comme Dr. Sean. Ouais.
Yeah, what's so striking about this is just how natural he is. I mean, he's essentially fluent in the language. He's got a fantastic pronunciation. You can also hear the accuracy of the language. You've got a lot of noun, adjective agreement that's accurate, that's correct. That was kind of missing in some of the others that we've seen. He's very, very accomplished at the language, and how great is that to see? I mean, if I went on French TV and gave a performance as good as this, I'd be extremely, extremely pleased with myself. Now, this next one you might recognize. Wow, that is some serious French right there. I mean, for all intents and purposes, she seems to me at least to be native level in French. Maybe some native French speakers in the comments can point out any areas where you could tell that she perhaps wasn't French, but that's pretty awesome. Now, it turns out that Jodie Foster actually went to a French-speaking prep school when she was really young. She went to the Lycée Français in Los Angeles. And she's also acted in French films. Apparently, she can also get by in Italian, Spanish, and German, although I couldn't find any clips of that. Let me know if you have any proof. But she didn't just speak French when she was young, she kept speaking it all her life as well. Have a look at this.
Autobiographique dans tout ça. Est-ce que vous vous retrouvez quelque part?
Oui, un petit peu, parce que j'ai vécu quand même une vie entre guillemets pas normale, mais j'étais pas un surdoué, j'étais pas plus intelligent que les autres, j'étais seulement dans un métier assez prodige, quoi.
Alors comment ça s'est passé avec le petit garçon? Je suppose que vous l'avez épié, vous l'avez aidé, ça a dû vous rappeler des tas de souvenirs, non? Ouais, c'est vrai, ça fait quand même 25 ans que je suis devant les caméras, alors j'ai pu quand même lui donner un petit peu d'expérience, mais finalement j'ai trouvé que lui, il travaillait du même façon que moi. Il était très naturel dans...
I mean, that is super impressive. I mean, that is so cool to see. I'm speechless. Who's coming up next?
Merci d'être là. C'est un film très important, très proche de mon cœur, parce que c'était un rêve d'un ami qui est perdu, Hunter S. Thompson. Et donc c'est très important. Donc j'espère que
That is so cool. I love to see this. Isn't it amazing how many people out there that you had no idea speak other language actually do speak other languages? Sometimes I think that, you know, the kind of YouTube language game, language learning is built up to be this kind of thing that only really kind of special people can do. But everyone can learn a language. Lots of people are learning a language. And I think what you see here is someone who speaks a little bit of the language, but he's actually using it for something really, really meaningful, to get up on stage and actually speak to a crowd and thank people in French. And in many ways, I find I have kind of, more respect for someone who just speaks a little bit of the language, but even so, really puts himself out there and tries to use it. That's a lot more difficult than someone who's actually grown up learning French, gone to a French-speaking school and all of that. So big respect for Johnny Depp. Let's carry on.
Un guide, un livre, comme disons le guide Michelin. C'est un guide pour les Afro-Américains, une nécessité pour voyager, surtout partout aux États-Unis, aussi au Canada, mais surtout dans les États du Sud, pour savoir où on pouvait se loger, pouvait dîner, pouvait arrêter pour l'essence.
There's something about actors that is extremely impressive, and they're just like, this must just come from being in front of the camera all the time, always being on the big screen. They're just so kind of cool and calm and collected. You get the impression that they could even not know anything in the language, not speak it, but still give a good performance. Now, Viggo obviously is known for being really good at languages and learning dialects for films. And when he was asked what languages he's learned for films, he said Lakota, 2 kinds of Elvish, Dwarvish, Arabic, French, Danish, Russian, and maybe a bit of Swedish, German, and Spanish too. And this, for me, this kind of comes through in his French here. I remember when I looked at the American presidential candidates' Spanish. I remember Pete Buttigieg had a very sort of similar aura around him, where it's just someone who you can just tell knows lots of languages, because even though his French is not perfect, even though he's slow and he's searching for words, he's just got this confidence that I think comes from having studied and having learned lots of different languages. That means you kind of know that whatever happens, whatever you want to say, you're gonna find a way to say it. And this is one of the things that gets easier with language learning, with the more languages you learn. So it's just, I really enjoyed this. I love this next guy. Let's see who it is.
J'adore la France, mais il y a trop d'impôts et trop de pessimisme. Comment expliquez-vous cela?
Ça, c'est un point de vue, non? C'est un point de vue politique. Le pessimisme, peut-être c'est plus difficile à définir, peut-être. Je peux dire seulement que très souvent, depuis plus que 30 ans, j'avais passé pas mal de temps en France. Des années, ça veut dire même avant on a acheté une maison en France et tout ça. J'ai entendu la phrase « le crise » depuis le début. Et ça se fait...
I really like John Malkovich's French. It's very it's quite slow, it's quite controlled, but I like the fact that he expresses himself very carefully. He's clearly thinking about what he's saying, and he's actually talking about his point of view as well, which you see if you watch the longer clip here about how there's too many taxes in France, there's too much pessimism. I like the fact that he kind of approaches all these things, and in very, very good, confident French as well. Now, he also, like Jodie Foster, went to the Lycée Français in Los Angeles. And he's also, as he was saying in that clip, he lived in France for over 10 years. He worked in a theatre in southern France. He owns a house there. So he's clearly spent lots of time in France. And that just shows, I guess, in the whole aura, right? He's kind of leaning back on the sofa outside, just speaking French wistfully. Pretty French. Now let's see who we got next.
Rejoignez-moi sur le nouveau site première.fr, le nouveau site, le nouveau website.
The new website.
Yeah.
Okay. Bonjour, je suis Daniel Radcliffe. Can you write it down for me quickly?
Yeah.
Je suis Daniel Radcliffe. Rejoignez-moi sur le nouveau site de première.fr.
Now, that is just awesome. I love that. So, okay, Daniel Radcliffe, he clearly doesn't really speak French, but he's having a go, and he's there again. He's on TV, and he's learning this thing, and he's speaking, and that is what language learning should be about. It should be having fun. It should be doing things to connect with other people, to have some fun. People sometimes take language learning far too seriously, but there's so much to be said for learning a little bit here and there. And in the breakdown video I did of Moses McCormick's method, we saw how he learned over 50 languages, some to, you know, only a very basic level, but you can then use that to communicate with people all over the world. So Daniel, he's got some more work to do on his French. Fine, that's totally cool, but I love the fact that he's having a go. You can hear as well there, from a pronunciation point of view, how some of the kind of basic sounds in French, like the French R, the R, I think he was saying rejoindre there. It's quite difficult for people to get. This is why I think sometimes people are a bit scared of French, because the pronunciation can be quite challenging. You can hear that a little bit there, but 10 out of 10 for effort. Now, to finish the list here, I'm going to show you my favourite of the lot. But I want you to let me know in the comments who has impressed you most so far from this list. Let me know down below.
Toutes les femmes que tu as rencontrées sont comme ça? Non, mais c'est plus intéressant de dire les femmes qui sont intéressantes par les femmes qui...
Bon, vous savez, les rock'n'roll, c'est les choses très simples. C'est pas une chose compliquée. Ils changent pas beaucoup la musique. Ils changent pour 1 an, 2 ans, et ça revient dans un cercle.
This is one of those things, you know, when you have like an image of somebody, and like someone like Mick Jagger, you just got an image of who this guy is. And I don't know, certainly for me, not knowing much about his life or his background, the last thing I thought was that he would speak really good French, would be able to go give interviews in French. So I'm absolutely blown away by this. There's actually a lot of examples online of Mick Jagger speaking French, and it's just brilliant. So it turns out that he spent a lot of time in France on holiday with his family as a kid, and he actually owns a chateau now in the Loire Valley in France and spends a lot of time there. But isn't it impressive just how you can be someone with such a specific kind of like vibe around you, this kind of big time rock star, but then also speak this beautiful sensible, like this beautiful language with all this sensibility, and his accent is fantastic. He can really express himself and say what he wants to say. This, I think, for all the ones we've seen today, has been the one that's made me sit back and think, you know, languages, learning languages is something for everybody, and you can find examples of language learning all around the world in the most unexpected places. So I've really enjoyed looking at all of these celebrities who are learning French. But look, learning a new language, it's an amazing thing, but it doesn't have to be French that you learn. And in fact, in this video over here, I tell you about 5 languages that are objectively easier for English speakers than French. So if you're wondering what language to learn, if you fancy getting inspired by these guys and picking up a new language, you should watch this video now to find out which language you'll be able to learn fastest.